So we've just finished our fight simulation class, or street sparring class here at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Ilkley. And a common question that comes up is, why do we spar, why do we roll with the gloves on? And one of our students, Jamie, said, because, he said, well, I've always thought of that. Why do we spar with the gloves on? Because they don't wear gloves in a street fight. Well, actually, the reason why we wear the gloves when we're rolling is, just so we don't end up jabbing each other in the eyes or, hit each other with the knuckles. So from that respect, obviously for safety, but also the reason then is, why do we roll with strikes in the first place? Especially days like today where we've got the gis on. Because again, I've had it before where people say, oh, how come you're doing MMA, especially with a gi on? You don't wear gis in MMA. And we're not training MMA, we're training Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And we're rolling, again, from a street perspective mindset. So here at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Ilkley, we have street sparring days or glove days. So every 2 weeks we'll switch the day around. So some days we'll do just normal sparring, rolling, gis, no gloves. Sometimes we'll do no gi, no gloves. But then when we're on a glove day, whatever day that rotates around to, whether we're wearing a gi or no gi, we'll wear the gloves. And it really does change things a lot as well, because again, when you're thinking about having to spar and roll and do jiu-jitsu with the strikes, especially with the gis on, where you can actually, grab hold of each other and you're wearing the gloves as well, it gives you a whole different perspective and a way to think about it. And actually from day one at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Ilkley, we actually train for, that self-defense mindset. When you're starting our Gracie Combaters classes, from day one, you're learning how to defend yourself against strikes. So it's important to really keep that going on, especially when you start getting to our advanced classes, where we now start to do more, sparring and rolling, that we keep that street switch and keep our street defense mindset quite sharp. Because again, sometimes you can get into bad habits with certain things. So for a few examples, we always want to think about distance management. So again, if we're inside the guard, for example, we always say whoever manages the distance manages the amount of damage that can be dealt. If I'm not doing anything right now, then I'm just lying on the ground. Daniel can do a lot of damage from here because he's got a lot more distance. So again, when we think about what we do, for example, with our Gracie Combatives, we want to keep everything close, okay? So I'm keeping him tight, I'm keeping him close. So now, even though he can still hit me from here, I'm actually suffocating, the damage out of the strike. So we're going to look at managing the distance, manage the damage. Also, from things on top, from a defensive mindset, if Daniel's lying down with his head facing this way, so for example, even simple things like, if we just move back a little bit slightly, please, Daniel. Even simple things like the mount. Sometimes you can get away with just keeping your arms kind of crossed together and, kind of defending arm bars and arm locks and things. But as soon as you start throwing some light strikes into the mix, it's got to cover up. So again, sometimes just kind of throwing light things like now, it just kind of gives you that different perspective. And again, you have to look at, respecting things from that strike perspective as well. So again, it's all about just keeping that street defense mindset sharp. Thinking about how we can manage the distance, thinking about if I'm going to do a jiu-jitsu technique, am I exposed for a strike? So again, it just, make sure that, we're keeping everything sharp in that respect as well. So yeah, that's how we do things here at, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Ilkley, with our glove days. But again, we've got Gracie Jiu-Jitsu programs for everybody. So we've got the kids programs with our Gracie Bulletproof, fundamentals programs with our Gracie Combaters Beginner. You don't need any experience whatsoever to do that. Women programs, women empowered, and we've also got our master cycle programs as well. So anyone that's advancing from Gracie Combatives, obviously we've got things and we cover a lot of techniques with as well. So we've got something for everybody. So if you ever want to come down, try a class, we do a 10-day free trial, completely free. Come down, join us, and we'll be happy to welcome you onto the mat.